Hey everyone, how's it going? Mike here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Senior Division World Champions deck. This deck looks surprisingly quite similar to Misa's deck for the most part, which happened to be number 2 of the Pokemon TCG Masters Division. But I mean, there definitely are a couple of interesting inclusions. By far, the one card that stood out to me the most was the Rock Guard Ace Spec card. Just really unusual. Was not expecting to see Rock Guard at all. I mean, I'm not really sure. Is Rock Guard really worth running as opposed to the Computer Search instead? Normally I would say no, but again, this is the champion deck from the senior division class, so definitely Rock Guard must have been pulling its weight. It's actually kind of nice though in some regards. I mean, if we do have the Rock Guard, for example, latched on to the Manectric EX, which happens to be one of the main attackers of this deck. So let's take a quick look at it. So first of all, Manectric EX has the Assault Laser attack, which only hits for 60 damage, but if our opponent's active Pokemon has a Pokemon tool card attached to it, with the Assault Laser attack we can hit for 120 damage. Now, if we have a Rock Guard attached to that Manectric EX as well, that means that if our opponent is of course running some sort of non-Mega EX Pokemon as their attacker, if they attack our Manectric EX, they're going to be losing their own life, so they're going to be doing half of the work for us. So definitely an interesting build there, but the one thing about Rock Guard is that it's so easy to discard. I mean, all the opponent really needs is a Starling Megaphone or a Zerasic, and that's it. Rock Guard or Ace Spec card immediately goes into the discard pile, whereas the Computer Search is almost always going to be useful. I mean, Computer Search can allow us to grab any single card from our deck, so there's never going to be an instance where it's not useful at all, unless of course we have almost no cards whatsoever remaining in our deck, and at that point, yeah, Computer Search is probably a bit redundant. But anyways, definitely something interesting going on here, and Manectric EX is a pretty cool attacker as well, although the deck definitely seems to revolve the most around the Seismitoad EX. Just based on the numbering of the Manectric EX compared to the Seismitoad EX, we can sort of get that as a relatively clear idea. I mean, there are a total of 3 copies of the Seismitoad EX in this deck, and only 2 copies of the Manectric EX. Of course, you guys are familiar with what Seismitoad EX is capable of. Quaking Punch is actually going to be the only attack that we'll be using. We will not be making use of the Grenade Hammer attack whatsoever, because there are some Lightning Energy cards that are in this deck specifically included to make sure that Manectric EX is able to attack. Of course, we do see a total of 2 copies of the Shaman EX as well. Shaman EX, just such a versatile Pokemon. It was actually included in each of the top decks from the Senior Division World Champs deck, the Masters Champs deck, and of course the Junior World Champions deck as well. So Shaman EX is such a versatile card, and we definitely do see its value rising quite a bit in the Pokemon TCG Online. I mean, if you guys have not snatched up 4 copies of this bad boy just yet, make sure you do. Possibly grab some extras as well, because its value is only going to increase from here on out. And of course, we also have the Bat line, so a total of 4 copies of the Zubat, 3 Golbats, and 2 Crobats. I don't think I really need to discuss this. You guys are quite aware of what it does, but just in case you're not, gonna go over it very quickly. So we do see the surprise bite ability, which allows the Crobat to stack 3 damage counters on one of our opponent's Pokemon, so that can include their benched Pokemon or their active Pokemon, which is definitely kind of nice. And of course, the Sneaky Bite pretty much does the same, but it only is restricted to 2 damage counters as opposed to the 3 that we do see from that Crobat. It's very interesting. Crobat seems to be a very successful deck. We've seen it all across the board in all 3 respective divisions. So Crobat definitely not a Pokemon to be taken lightly. I mean, initially I wasn't very impressed with it, but I still saw a bit of potential for it, and as we can see now, there's a lot of potential for that Crobat. Anyways, let's actually discuss some of the remaining cards in this deck. You guys are definitely quite aware of the entire Hypnotoxic Laser for Bank City Gym combination. We Hypnotoxic Laser our opponent's Pokemon. Ideally, we just repeatedly Quaking Punch them. If they remain asleep, that's nice. Verbank City Gym does half of the work for us, so Verbank City Gym just seems to be the ideal stadium card to pair up with any Seismitoad EX decks. Of course, we do see a total of 3 copies of the Super Scoop Up. This is to try and get those bats back into your hand and then stack those damage counters all over again. So Super Scoop Up is definitely a nice trainer card to include. We do see a total of 3 copies of those in this respective deck. Of course, 4 Ultra Balls will allow us to grab onto any of the Pokemon that we need. The AZ, a card that is quite similar to that Super Scoop Up. However, there is no flip coin requirement, and it is going to count as our supporter card for the turn, so that needs to be kept in mind. Also keep in mind that whenever we do make use of the AZ, we are forced to discard our energy cards and of course any other cards attached to that Pokemon, so that includes any tool cards as well. So just do keep that in mind. I mean, if we're not running a whole lot of energy cards, we're only running a total of 8 energy cards, so if we're running dangerously low on them, AZ probably is not the best card to use. So we do see a total of 8 energy cards again. 4 of them are of course lightning energies, and of course 4 of them the double colors energy to be used in combination with that Seismitoad EX. We do see a total of 3 VS Seekers, which will allow us to reuse those supporter cards. We see a total of 9 draw supporters, 1 of them being Colress, 4 of them being the Ants, and of course 4 of them being the Junipers, 2 Lysanders to allow us to lure out any of the opponent's bench Pokemon, of course a Pokemon Center Lady, and the Zurasic. This can serve to heal that Seismitoad EX and just make life a little bit more difficult for the opponent, and of course that Zurasic can help us get rid of any tool or special energy cards. 2 Muscle Bands, of course you guys are quite familiar with what this is capable of, and of course a total of 2 copies of the Headringer, mainly to be latched on one of our opponent's active or their bench DX Pokemon, and that's going to make life a lot more difficult for them when we ultimately do start attacking with that Seismitoad EX. So that is pretty much going to be it. I also have to point out that it's really interesting to see that there are no hammers in this deck. I mean, that is downright shocking, right? Because I mean, how many Seismitoad EX builds do you guys know that doesn't run any hammers whatsoever? Well, this actually happens to be one of them. So let us go right ahead and see what this deck is capable of. Definitely quite interested in seeing how it is able to perform, and it's kind of interesting that we do see some Manectric EXs run in this deck as well. No Mega Manectric EXs, but of course those Mega Manectric EXs would eat up just a whole lot of bench space. We're going to see some fighting Pokemon in there as well. So I'm hoping that our Manectric EXs aren't too susceptible to the opponent's Pokemon. In fact, we may even have to restrain ourselves from bringing any of them out. So we definitely see some sort of Bat deck as well. Bats definitely seem to be extremely popular at this point, and just our opponent allowing us to draw onto tons and tons of cards. So I think we're going to start off with, of course, the Seismitoad EX being the only Pokemon that we have, and let's draw into as many cards as we possibly can. So that is 1 card, 2 cards. I believe we can draw up to 4 cards, and yes, so 4 cards. 1 more Seismitoad EX. Yeah, I'm actually gonna let's actually bring it out. I was gonna say I'll hold off on it just in case we do see the Headringer. I'm not sure. I think our opponent may actually be running the the Junior Division World Champs deck, but I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully I can Headringer that Landorus EX, but there's a possibility, of course, that if we see the Muscle Band getting latched onto that Landorus EX, unfortunately I won't be able to attach it. So hopefully that Shaman EX pays off and allows us to grab onto that double colors energy. Let's go and attach that onto that Landorus EX, the Verbank City Gym, the Hypnotoxic Laser 8 Tails. Let's go and lay down that Shaman EX, draw into some cards, and okay, so we have the end card. Hopefully that's going to pay off. I'm actually going to go and attach the Rock Guard onto that Seismitoad EX. If that Hawlucha does attack us, our opponent's Hawlucha will be losing its life. Let's go and use that N for a brand new hand. We should still have 1 more Shaman EX. Again, I feel like the Manectric EX is pretty useless for the most part, so I'm actually going to go and discard it. Let's go and get rid of that. And a Muscle Band. Hopefully we have 1 more Shaman EX in our deck. Awesome. It looks like we certainly do, so let's go and grab that out. I'm going to go and attach the Muscle Band onto that bench Seismitoad EX. Lay down 1 more Shaman EX, draw to some additional cards. And awesome. Looks like we're going to draw onto that double colors energy. Let's go and Quaking Punch, 30 damage. And again, if that Hawlucha does attack us, it's going to lose its life. But I mean, even if it doesn't actually, even if we didn't have the Rock Guard, it would have lost its life regardless, because it is poisoned and only has 10 HP remaining. So I think we may actually see, okay, no, it looks like we're not going to see that. So yeah, I think Rock Guard is actually pretty cool. I mean, especially with those bats, we can just stack lots and lots of damage counters. So let's see. I mean, I do need a bat, and I'd love to draw into one. So I'm gonna go right ahead and get rid of our entire hand. Let's go and use those Hypnotoxic Lasers until we get a heads. And okay, the first one looks like it's gonna be a heads. So let's go and use that Professor Juniper, and we're gonna go and bring out a Golbat. So we'll be able to knock out that Hawlucha in a single turn. So that is definitely kind of nice. Let's go and bring out 1 more Golbat. We're gonna stack some damage counters onto the opponent's Zubat. I think we can hold off on that Super Scoop Up. We should be relatively safe for the most part. Let's go and use that Quaking Punch, 30 damage, knock out the opponent's Hawlucha due to that poison damage, and draw onto a prize card. So Rock Guard is actually a bit of a cool deck, but a cool tech to include in this type of deck. But again, I don't know. I don't know if I would consider it as a better sort of option as opposed to the computer search, but it definitely does seem to be pulling its weight in this respective type of deck. So we're going to see that Landorus EX get the strong energy card latched on to it. Do I want to bring that Seismitoad EX back in my hand? I mean, it does have 80 damage on it right now. So you know what, I'm actually going to go for that super scoop up. Let's see if we can get a heads. Okay, so it looks like first one is going to be a tails. Let's go and look for one more super scoop up. Okay, it's going to be a heads. Let's actually go and bring that Seismitoad EX back into our hand. I'm going to go and bring out this Seismitoad EX. I'm going to go and attach the double colors energy onto it. Lay down a Seismitoad EX, the rock guard, and I'm gonna say sorry to our opponent and GG as well, just in case they may actually be conceding the game. Let's go and use that Ultra Ball, get rid of that Zubat, and okay, yeah, so it looks like our opponent is indeed gonna quit the game. So we'll be finding ourselves one more opponent, guys, but yeah, this deck seems to be quite nice, actually. And it's pretty hard to actually get rid of that Rock Guard unless our opponent is running some sort of Zerasek, just because, again, we do ideally have the item lock going, and our opponent won't be able to simply make use of a card such as the Starling Megafon. Again, that sort of depends on who our attacker is, but it's usually 90% of the time it is going to be that Seismitoad EX, which will be our attacker. If we're facing some sort of Verzin EX, Genesect EX type of deck instead, for example, then we would probably be seeing that Manectric EX as sort of our main attacker instead. So alright, looks like we found ourselves an additional opponent, and it looks like it's going to be a dark type deck this time around, so completely darkness Pokemon, possibly a Mega Tyranitar EX deck. But I'm not entirely sure. I do see that Mega Absol coin, so it could actually be a Mega Absol EX deck. Let's start off with that Zubat, just because I can easily retreat it to bring out one of our bench Pokemon. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go and lay down that Manectric EX on to that bench as well. Possibly, I'm gonna go right ahead and use that Ultra Ball to look for a Shaman EX, I think. Just to draw into some additional cards. Would like to always get at least one energy attachment going, and hopefully we get a bit of a better hand. I mean, we have a pretty dead hand for the most part. So let's go and lay down that Manectric EX on to that bench and see what our opponent has in store for us. So he still hasn't flipped. Okay, it looks like it is going to be the Yveltal, so we may just see quite a bit of action from the Manectric EX. So I'm going to go and use that Ultra Ball. Let's go and get rid of one more Ultra Ball, and I guess the Headringer for now as well. And let's look for a Shaman EX. How many do we have? So one. Okay, so we actually have both of them, so that's kind of nice. Those Ultra Balls definitely are very, very helpful to have in these types of decks. Let's go and lay down a Zubat on to that bench as well. Again, I do want to get an energy card, so let's go and use that super scoop up, and we're gonna get the heads. Let's go and lay down that Shaman EX, draw to two more cards. And okay, so we have the Verbank City Gem. I'm gonna go and use that Colress. I'm not gonna scoop up that Shaman EX back into our hand. It could come in handy with respects to allowing us to get some additional Zubats later on, so let's go and use that Colress, lay down the Seismitoad EX, and I think I'm temporarily going to retreat this Zubat to bring out the Manectric EX. I think we may actually be attacking a lot with that Manectric EX. Again, we do have the typing advantage right now, and this is hilarious, so I'm going to say haha, and wish our opponent good luck. Sorry, good luck, not GG. I mean, it's still far, and I hope he enjoys the video. So let me actually move around my mic a little bit. So there we go, and let's go right ahead and place it back onto my keyboard. So yeah, it looks like indeed we are going to see a Mega Tyranitar EX deck. We do see that Spirit Link going onto that onto that Tyranitar EX right away, and the Heart Charm as well. That may actually come to be a bit of a detrimental choice on our opponent's part, because of course that Manectric EX is able to hit for more and more damage with the Assault Laser. So again, really thank you very much. And yeah, so let's actually go on, and I do have the Muscle Band. Let's go and attach that to that Seismitoad EX. I don't want to give up that VS Seeker, but Colress will allow us to draw onto 5 cards. Yeah, I think it's better to just use that Juniper. It's better to draw onto some additional cards. So we'll be able to hit that Yveltal for almost no damage, actually. Overrun. Yeah, because we do see that Heart Charm, so I'm going to go and lay down the Golbat. Let's stack 2 damage counters on to that Yveltal. I'm going to go and lay down a Zubat on to that bench as well. Let's actually go and attach a Lightning Energy card onto that Seismitoad EX for the time being, and then we're going to go and end the turn. I mean, that Yveltal should be losing its life just due to that poison damage, so things should be relatively good for now. And yes, so we're going to see that Manectric EX taking 30 damage. Let's go and draw onto a prize card. Looks like it is going to be a Manectric Manectric EX. So that Mega Tyranitar EX is going to be able to absolutely ravage our Manectric EX. I'm going to go and actually attach the Rock Guard on to it for now. Let's go and use that end card, or I think I'm going to go for the Colress. I don't want to, yeah, so I don't want to help out our opponent. I mean, that's definitely unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that. Head Ringer, I mean, yes, he had the Tyranitar Spirit Link. Not really sure. I mean, can I actually attach this to one of our own Pokemon? No. So not sure why. Oh yeah, right. Can I actually have two tool types attached to it? Oh my goodness. That is really unfortunate. Poor Tyranitar. Sorry, Mega Tyranitar EX. Let's go and bring out a Zubat, stack 2 damage counters on to that Mega Tyranitar EX. Attach the double colors energy onto that Manectric EX overrun for only 20 damage. And just going to say sorry about that. So Mega Tyranitar EX is going to need a massive 5 energy cards. So sorry, what's it called? The Head Ringer can definitely be detrimental as much as it can actually be helpful. So let's go and lay down a Crobat, stack 3 more damage counters on to that Mega Tyranitar EX, overrun for 20 damage, and we're definitely starting to stack up a whole lot of damage counters on to that Mega Tyranitar EX. And let me just reply to our opponent. So there we go. I hope you find it helpful. I mean, these Yveltal decks definitely do seem to do most of the work for them. I mean, those dangerous energies are absolutely going to hurt us a whole lot. So I'm going to go and use that AZ, bring that entire Crobat line back into our hand. Let's go and lay down a Zubat, lay down a Golbat as well, stack 2 much counters on to that Mega Tyranitar EX. I feel like our opponent has given up just attaching those energy cards to them, and I don't particularly blame him. I mean, we're just stacking damage counters so quickly, and of course we do see that Head Ringer giving our opponent a very, very difficult time. Let's go and attack with the overrun attack, 20 damage to both our opponent's active and his bench Pokemon. I could have healed off the damage, but again, I do see a dangerous energy latched on to that Yveltal, so I mean, I feel like even if I do heal it off, that Mega Tyranitar EX should be able to perform a one-hit knockout on us anyways. So we're going to see that escape. Let's go and bring out a Crobat temporarily. I can always go right ahead and retreat it if that is what I would like to do. Yeah, so okay, it looks like our opponent has not given up on that Mega Tyranitar EX just yet. And let's see what I'd like to do. Okay, so I have the Lysander. I can bring out that Mega Tyranitar EX again if I want to, but I can also inflict double the amount of damage to that Yveltal, so I guess I'm actually going to go and attack that Yveltal for the time being. So let's go and actually heal off the bulk of the damage. Let's go and use Overrun, 40 damage to our opponent's active Pokemon, 20 more damage to that Mega Tyranitar EX. Again, it's getting dangerously close for us to be able to perform that one-hit knockout on it. If our opponent's Yveltal does attack our Manectric EX, it's going to inflict itself with 60 damage, and it would really be ideal if we could draw onto some sort of bat, and that would just allow us to get rid of that Yveltal relatively easily. But if that doesn't happen to be the case, I can always just Lysander out the opponent's Mega Tyranitar EX, and then I can take care of the opponent's Yveltal once it happens to be the opponent's bench Pokemon. So we're going to see that weakness policy, but I don't think it really matters at this point. I mean, it's only going to have 20 HP regardless, so that weakness policy is relatively useless for the most part, and that Absol is going to move those damage counters from that Crobat onto that Seismitoad EX. Definitely an interesting option, but again, it is just to increase the total damage output of that Mega Tyranitar EX. In fact, our opponent's deck looks almost identical to the build that I had going on. Seems to be a few differences here and there, but again, I had run the Absol in my deck. There was no bats in my deck, but I know a lot of you guys wanted bats, so I may just revisit the Mega Tyranitar EX deck in the near future. We see 2 Darkness energies going into that discard pile, and okay, looks like one of them is going to get attached to that Absol. So I have the Lysander, and I think that's actually what I'm going to go and use. So let's go and bring out that Mega Tyranitar EX. Let's go and use Overrun, hitting it for 20 damage, and then knocking out the opponent's Yveltal to allow us to snatch up 1 prize card. If that Mega Tyranitar EX does attack the Mega Manectric EX, our opponent will be able to inflict us with a whole lot of damage, easily knocking it out, but simultaneously that Mega Tyranitar EX is going to knock itself out. So yeah, it looks like our opponent is going to go for the double KO. And hopefully we should be able to win the game. So let's go and bring out the Seismitoad EX as our active Pokemon. I'm going to go and attach another Lightning Energy card to it. It already has a Muscle Band. I'm going to go and use that Zerasa, get rid of the Dangerous Energy, and then let's go and use that Quaking Punch for 50 damage. Should be able to win the game during our next turn. I mean, we still have 2 prize cards. If we do see some sort of bench Pokemon, then the game may just continue for a little bit longer. Opponent only, unfortunately, has snatched up 2 prize cards, so that Rat Guard has actually been quite impressive for now. But again, it's not all that effective if it's used in combination with Manectric EX, because then of course we can see cards such as the Starling Megaphone easily getting rid of it. So we're gonna see in Yveltal EX come out into their opponent's bench as well, and looks like our opponent is going to opt to power that up as opposed to his Absol, which definitely makes a lot of sense. So let's go and lay down a Seismitoad EX onto that bench, attach the double colors energy onto it. We actually don't have the greatest hand, so I'm actually fine with using the N, which I think is actually what I'm going to go and do, guys. So let's go and use that N. Hopefully I can draw onto some additional bats and stack some damage counters onto that Yveltal, or at the very least get something a little bit more helpful. So let's go and use that. Could also be detrimental to our opponent, only allowing him to draw onto 4 cards. Via Seeker, I'm going to hold off on that. Let's go and use Quaking Punch, knocking out the opponent's Absol and allowing us to snatch up one more prize card. Awesome. Looks like it is going to be the Hypnotoxic Laser. And we're going to see that Ace Trainer, okay, that's going to get a brand new hand for us, but we do have the Super Scoop Up. This can be helpful with respects to allowing us to bring that Shaman EX back into our hand. And unfortunately for our opponent, looks like that Yveltal is not going to be able to attack just yet. So let us go and use that Super Scoop Up, and we're going to get a Tails. So I'm going to go and Lysander out that Tyranitar EX. Gonna hold off on the double colors energy. Actually, let's go and attach it to that Shaman EX just in case it gets Lysandered out, for example. Let's go and use Quaking Punch, 50 damage to the opponent's Tyranitar EX. And yeah, so that's unfortunately going to be it. Luckily for us, that Tyranitar EX can't really hit us for a whole lot of damage, only can hit us for 60 damage, and okay, we're going to see the T-Magma Secret Base as well. So from now on, as soon as I bring out a new Pokemon, we're going to see some damage counters get stacked on to those. So let's go and use that Hypnotoxic Laser, and awesome, looks like we're going to get the heads. Quaking Punch one more time, keep that item lock going. Our opponent's Pokemon looks like it is going to wake up, but if we don't see it evolve or retreat, we're going to be able to win the game, guys, because all we need to do is hit our opponent for 50 damage one more time, and between turns, with all of those damage counters adding up due to that poison, we'll be able to take the game. So I think this may just be it. Again, unless of course we do see that Tyranitar EX retreating. If it does retreat, it's going to need at least one more energy card, and what that means is that our opponent's Yveltal EX, should it be the Pokemon that he decides to bring out, will not be able to attack. Same goes for that Yveltal. Yeah, so it looks like it is going to be game, guys. So I'm going to go and say GG to our opponent, and yeah, so this deck is actually quite impressive. I can definitely understand why it won in the Seniors Division, and yeah, so that is going to be it. Again, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and sorry, let me just say thank you to the opponent as well. And yeah, so that is going to be it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also be sure to check out those annotations for my previous video or a random video as well, in case you guys are of course interested in checking those out. And yeah, so I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.